Good morning, dear students. My name is Dr. Shuaib Mohammad Bhat. I am working as Assistant Professor in the Department of English. In this video lecture, I shall be discussing about metaphor and figurative language. This topic, it comes in your in the second module of your syllabus. In the third module of your syllabus, there we have this topic, which is metaphor and figurative language. So we shall be trying to know in this lecture what is the role of metaphor and what is the role of figurative language in communication. So this is our topic for today's discussion. Let's begin. When we talk about communication, we come to know that it's a dynamic and multifaceted process that extended beyond the mere exchange of words. This is true about communication. Communication is not only the exchange of words. It's not mere exchange of words only. I speak something to you and you are responding me with the words. You are responding me with the words in return. You are replying me with the oral words, with the spoken words in written or in return. So this only is not communication. Communication it's a dynamic process. It's a multifaceted process, and it goes beyond this spoken exchange of words. It involves the art of expressing thoughts, emotions, and ideas in a way that resonates with others. So it involves the art of expressing thoughts, emotions, and ideas in a way that resonates with others. So it's not mere exchange of words only. When you are exchanging words only, that's not the domain of, that only is not the domain of communication. Then what is the domain of communication? What is that? What are all those components which gives or which makes communication the very interactive process? So it's an art by which we express our thoughts, we express emotions, and we express ideas in a way that resonates with others and creating a shared understanding. And it is, as I told you, it is an art of sharing ideas, sharing emotions, sharing feelings with others so that we can create a shared understanding. So communication is not only, for example, what if I speak anything in front of you, but you're not understanding that thing, you're not getting the exact meaning of that thing, that's not called a communication. So communication is not like a speaker speaks in front of you and you're not understanding that. So that's not communication. Communication happens between two people, or between two groups of people, or between a person and a group, or between two. As I told you, it's a two-way transport. And communication is not only this thing, I came here and I delivered my point, I delivered my talk, I delivered my expression, but you couldn't understand anything from that expression. That's not communication. Communication is when the intended message is being received, evaluated, and understood by the receiver. That is the process which we call as communication. If there is no understanding, if there is no evaluating of the communication, and there is no response of the communication, that's merely just presenting the idea or presenting the information. That cannot be called good communication. Good communication is incomplete without understanding, without the understanding of the receiver or of the receivers. That's why we say that it's an art by which we share our ideas, our feelings, our emotions, so that we can create a shared understanding. Shared understanding is, I want you to understand this lecture. I want you to take certain takeaways from this lecture. If I am able in delivering, and if you are able to take those takeaways from the lecture, we can call that this communication, it reached to the shared understanding. Because you got the expected outcome from that communication, from this communication. So one powerful tool in communicators' arsenal is the use of metaphor and figurative language. Now, if the communication is to deliver ideas properly, to deliver ideas, emotions, feelings, and that too in a way when they are being understood by the listeners, then obviously a speaker, a communicator, a person who initiates the communication, he or she has to take a number of steps, or he or she has to take care of a lot of things in order to make his or her communication easy to understand. Whatever I am speaking to you, you all must know it, you all must understand it. That is the primary motive of my lecture. It's not like I came here to show off my language, my vocabulary, my sentence structure, my knowledge. It's good to speak in a very sophisticated language, but while you use a language, or when you are using a language, you need to just take look upon the audience. Who are the people who are listening you? What are their capabilities? How good they are with the language? What are the different domains of their language which they know? What is their vocabulary level? What does they know about grammar, about sentence structure? What are the different sentences different types of sentences they are comfortable with? Like simple, complex, or compound sentences. So now, in order to make your communication easy to understand by your listeners, by your readers, so you need to take care of certain elements. You need to mend your communication. You need to pay attention on your sentence structure, on your vocabulary, on your examples, on the use of punctuation marks. You need to take care of your body language as well. Now, among all those important points which makes your communication easy for the receivers to understand, there is one thing which we call figurative language. Metaphor also comes under figurative language, but here in our syllabus, it has been given a separate space. It is because in order to just pay more emphasis on this term, that's why it has been excluded from the figures of speech. Otherwise, it comes under figurative language. So, among all those elements, among all those components which makes our communication easier for our listeners to understand, one thing is to pay attention or use metaphor and figurative language. Use metaphor and figurative language for your communication. When you use these terms, when you use these things in your communication, it will become easier for your receivers, for your listeners to understand you. So now let's draw upon metaphor. It is a figure of speech which allows individuals to convey complex ideas by drawing parallels between seemingly unrelated concepts. Metaphor is a figure of speech which allows individuals to convey complex ideas. It allows individuals to convey complex ideas by drawing parallels between between seemingly unrelated concepts, places, things, ideas, emotions, persons. So when you are drawing a parallel or when you are making a comparison between unrelated concepts, between unrelated things or ideas, that thing is called metaphor. And you are making this comparison without the use of these words like or as. So when we are making a comparison between seemingly unrelated concepts, ideas, persons, things, without the help of like or as, we call that metaphor. It goes beyond the literal meaning of words, inviting listeners to engage in a deeper level of understanding. We use metaphors so that we can go beyond the literal meaning. When we use metaphors, we give the quality of figurative meaning to our language. Words contain two types of meanings: denotative meaning, connotative meaning, surface meaning, and figurative meaning. There is one meaning which words can easily reflect, and there is one meaning which is very deep, which is figurative meaning. I would like to quote a word, green. Green. If I tell you, you are a green person, you may think green means green in color. But green has one figurative meaning which we call as immature. If any person is immature at any art, we call him green. He is a green teacher, means immature teacher. Means doesn't know his trade well, doesn't know his profession well. So we use metaphor to bestow, to give this figurative quality to our language, or we use metaphors to go beyond the literal meaning. And it invites, by using metaphors, we invite listeners to engage in a deeper level of understanding. By using metaphors, our readers, our listeners, they understand the deeper meaning of the statement which we are discussing with the help of a metaphor. For example, I would like to give an example. When someone says time is a thief, time is a thief. Please look upon this statement carefully. The statement is time is a thief. So if you look upon this statement, there is a comparison between two things. One is time and another is thief. So apparently the physical or the surface meaning of this, the apparent meaning of the sentence is that time is a thief. It gives a feeling like time is a criminal. Time has done some crime. So I don't mean that time is a criminal. Rather, I mean that time has the power to steal moments from our lives. See, right now the class is going on. This is such a moment for you where you can learn about metaphor and figurative language. Now, unfortunately, if someone among you is not paying attention, if someone among you is not taking the lecture very seriously, or someone among you who has not come to the class and is roaming outside, going to the canteen, just doing some sort of other work, so time, this moment in his life, it's gone. It will not come back. So this time has given you this moment, time has given you this opportunity. But unfortunately, time cannot hold this opportunity for you. So once it's gone, it's always gone. So in this sense, the sentence has been used like time is a thief. So it's not with the context that time is a criminal, time has done something wrong, has committed a crime. No. It means time is stealing the moments, the time from our lives. So in that sense, the time has been compared with thief without the use of like or as. So when we are comparing seemingly unrelated things, unsimilar things, concepts, ideas, feelings, when we are comparing them without the use of like or as, we call that metaphor. Now, figurative language, it encompasses a broader category of non-literal expressions. When we talk about figurative language, it is a broader category of non-literal expressions. Figurative language can be used for non-literal purpose. We use figurative language so that our readers, our listeners can create some images in their minds. And when we want to give or when we want to convey something which is beyond the literal meaning, for that purpose we use figures of speech or we use figurative language. We use figurative language when we want to convey something which is connotative in nature. When we want to convey something which is figurative in nature. When we do not want to just express the literal meaning of the words, of the idea, of the phrases, of the sentences. So that's why I wrote here, and that's why I'm telling you, figurative language, it encompasses a broader category of non-literal expressions. These are not literal expressions. These are not those expressions which make you aware with the literal meaning. Rather, these are the expressions which make you aware with the figurative meaning, which is beyond the literal expression, which is beyond the words. So it includes metaphors. As I told you, metaphor is a part of figure of speech. It includes simile, personification, and more these expressions like we have oxymoron, we have onomatopoeia, we have irony, we have paradox, and different things are there. we have hyperbole. So these linguistic devices serve as creative embellishments, injecting vivid imagery and emotion into communication. So what will these figures of speech give us? It makes our communication ornamental, creative embellishment. It decorates our communication. See, when you are writing anything for the public, so obviously you need to write it in such a language which can attract your readership, which can just make which can have an impact on the minds of your readers. So that's called figurative language. So for that purpose, you want your language to look beautiful, look ornamental, look decorated, look attractive. And you can make your language attractive, ornamental, beautiful by incorporating these figures of speech or figurative language in our communication. And by using these figures of speech, so we are making our communication, we are including imagery and emotion into communication. We bring imagery, we bring emotion to our communication. And similes, for instance, compare two different things using like or as. When we talk about simile, as I gave you the example of metaphor in the previous slide, when we talk about simile, again it compares two different things with the help of like or as. There is an example like as brave as lion. Or I can write like this. Rahul is like a lion. What does it mean? What does I mean? Does it mean Rahul is an animal? No, I mean he is brave. He is energetic. He is brave. So the characteristic of bravery in Rahul has been compared to the lion. So when we are having such comparison with the help of like or with the help of as, so such comparison is called simile. We call this comparison as simile. I hope you have understood simile and metaphor. Now the use of metaphor and figurative language in communication skills is like adding color to the black and white canvas. It transforms language into a powerful tool for conveying abstract concepts, emotions, and experiences. So by employing these devices, communicators can transcend the boundaries. Now the use of this figurative language in communication, it is like to add color to the black and white canvas. So it makes our communication colorful. Or we can say, without the use of figurative language, without the use of these figures of speech, without the use of metaphor, simile, oxymoron, personification, irony, hyperbole, simile, so our communication is like a black and white canvas. It is a black and white communication. So there is nothing colorful there. There is nothing beautiful there. So it becomes colorful and beautiful when we add these figures of speech to our communication. And these figures of speech, this figurative language, these different techniques, they transform language into a powerful tool for what? For conveying abstract concepts, emotions, and experiences. So all these techniques, they are transforming language into a powerful tool. So language becomes a powerful tool when it is supported by these techniques, by these different terms. Your language will become a powerful tool. Your language does not remain now the layman's language, common man's language. Rather, it becomes a powerful tool. And by this powerful tool, you can communicate, you can convey abstract ideas. The ideas which are beyond our eyesight. Complex ideas, the ideas which are difficult to convey. Or metaphysical ideas. The ideas which are abstract, which you cannot see. So we can simply and easily convey those ideas, those abstract concepts, emotions, and experience with the help of these figures of speech. Now, by employing these devices, communicators can transcend the boundaries of literal expression, creating a richer and more varied tapestry of meaning. By employing these techniques, these devices, these figures of speech, by employing this figurative language, the writers, they go beyond the literal boundaries, beyond the literal expression, beyond the boundaries of literal expression. Because we see there is literal expression, language, it expresses the literal things. But with the help of these figures of speech, with the help of figurative language, we can go beyond the literal expression. We can go beyond the function of the language to use or to be used for literal expression only. So we can go beyond this function of language. We can convey abstract ideas, concepts, experiences, emotions, and we create a richer and varied tapestry of meaning. Richer meanings and various meanings we can convey with the help of figurative language. Effective communicators, they understand the impact of metaphor and figurative language on engagement and comprehension. Effective communicators, now the people who know the art of communication, who are effective communicators, the good communicators, they understand the impact of metaphor and figurative language. They know what is the impact of metaphor and figurative language on engagement and comprehension. So by using figurative language, you can make audience engagement, you can enhance audience engagement. You can make your audience spellbound. You can make your readers spellbound. Your readers will prefer to listen from you or to read your books because you are using figurative language, and this figurative language has the power to make your readers captivated. It captures the attention of your readers, and it also helps you in the comprehension. When you use figurative language, your readers find it easier to comprehend a text because it contains figurative language. So figurative language helps in comprehension. It helps us to break down the complex ideas and understand them from their base level. So these tools, they enhance communication by making it more memorable, relatable, and emotionally resonant. So these tools, these techniques, these devices, they make communication more memorable. They make communication, they just give the quality to this communication that it can be retained in the mind for a longer period of time. They make communication relatable. It seems, yeah, it is related to the present concept and emotionally resonant. So whether in professional settings, interpersonal relationships, or public speaking, a well-crafted metaphor can illuminate ideas and facilitate a deeper connection between the speaker and the audience. So in public speaking, interpersonal relationships, it's metaphor, or it's, I can say, the umbrella term. It is the figurative language which can facilitate a deeper connection between the audience and the speaker. So now let's discuss metaphor in detail. Let us discuss metaphor in detail. A metaphor is a figure of speech that involves comparing two unlike things by stating one thing is another. It's used to create a vivid image of the reader's or interested mind, and often involves the use of implicit comparison. It is a figure of speech. There are different figures of speech. These are the words, these are the terms which we use in order to create figures or images in the minds of the reader. That's why we call it figure of speech. It is a figure of speech which involves comparison or comparing two unlike things. So with the help of metaphor, we compare two unlike things by stating like that one thing is another or is similar to another. So why do we use this metaphor, or why do we use this comparison? It's used to create a vivid image in the reader's or listener's mind. We use this comparison in order to create a vivid image. So it is being used to create a vivid image in the reader's or listener's mind, and often involves the use of implicit comparison. Examples are there. One example is time is a thief. As I told you, this is the metaphor, and for the metaphor we make comparison without the use of we make comparison without the use of like or as. So when using metaphor, we do not use like or as. For example, time is a thief. We can write it like this also. Time is like a thief. So if we use this sort of comparison, this is called a simile. Because this is comparison based on like. Because this is comparison which is based on like or which contains like. When we are having such comparison which is with the help of like or as, that comparison is called a simile. But here with the metaphor, time is a thief. So time is compared to the thief. Time is compared to the thief. It suggests that it steals moments or experiences from your life. Again, I would like to say it is not like time is a criminal. Rather, there is the characteristic of time. The characteristic is this: it does not wait. It goes on. It moves. So time is a thief. That means it steals moments or experience from your life. The second example is world is a stage. So the metaphor, it implies that life is like a theatrical performance. Stage means some theatrical performance. So where individuals, they play their roles. It's not like that the whole world is a stage where people are acting. So it's not like that. It has a figurative meaning. Stage here means it is like a theatrical performance. We all are actors there. We are playing our roles, and one day our roles finish when we die. So another metaphor. Next metaphor is her laughter was music to his ears. So laughter and music has been compared. So it emphasizes the joy it brings. Such type of comparison is called metaphor. This is the comparison which is without like or as, and we call this comparison as metaphor. Then now we have figurative language. What is the definition of figurative language? Figurative language is a broader concept. It is a broader term that encompasses various figures of speech, including metaphors, similes, personification, hyperbole, and more. So figures of speech is a broader term. It contains lot of subterms. There are a lot of subterms, like we have metaphor is there, simile is there, personification is there, hyperbole is there, and other terms are also there. It involves the use of words in a way that goes beyond the literal meaning, so that they can create a more imaginative or expressive effect. So figure of language means to use language in such a way so that it can create images, so that it can create figures in the minds of readers. It means to use language in a way which goes beyond the literal meaning. So here language goes beyond the literal meaning. Language does not have only literal meaning, rather it has a meaning which is beyond the literal meaning. So it is having an imaginative or expressive meaning it has. So that form of language is called a figurative language. Now we have the first term which I want to discuss is simile here. What is simile? It is a figure of speech which compares someone's bravery to that of other, or it is a figure of speech which compares two unrelated things with the help of like or as. Now here we have the help of like or as. For example, I would like to take the same sentence here. Time is like a thief. It is again the same sentence which I used for the metaphor, but there is one change. I have used like here. So when we make comparison between two unrelated things, unrelated concepts, ideas, with the help of like or as, we call that simile. Here it is as brave as a lion. Now somebody is as brave as a lion. When we talk about somebody, about a person, so we are comparing that person with a lion. So this comparison with the help of like or as is called simile. And when the comparison is without like or as, we call that metaphor. Then the next term which I want to discuss with you is personification. What is personification? So in this example, like there is an example, stars are given. Personification means to give human attribute to non-human entities. When we give human attribute to non-human entities, for example, I would like to give an example like the wind is dancing. See, I talked here about an human attribute, that is dancing. Because dancing can be done by humans only. It is a human activity to dance. So dance can be done by humans only. So when we give this human attribute to non-humans, wind is non-human. So when we give this human attribute to non-humans, we call it personification. To give human attributes to non-humans is called personification. Here in the example, the stars danced in the night sky. As I told you, dance is the human attribute. It has been given to stars here. So it has been compared to stars here. When we give some human contribute to non-human entities, we call it personification. Then hyperbole. This is an exaggerated statement not meant to be taken literally to emphasize the frequency of an action. It's an exaggerated statement, not meant to be. We cannot take it literally, so we use these statements to emphasize the frequency of an action. For example, I have told you 1,000,000 times. So nobody in the world is telling to somebody 1,000,000 times. So, but we use the sentence I have told you 1,000,000 times in order to exaggerate it, in order to overemphasize a statement. So when we want to exaggerate a statement or overemphasize a statement, we use hyperbole there. It reminds me of a poem, Apple Picking. There is a line in the apple picking where the apple picker says, I have touched 10,000 apples. So it's not like he has touched that number of apples. He exaggerated the statement that he means to say that I have done a lot of apple picking. I have touched a lot of fruits. Then we have another term that's called alliteration. Alliteration is the repetition of initial consonant sounds in a line. So when there is a repetition of initial consonant sound in a series, we call that alliteration. See, Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. So we see it is a series of words which where initial consonant sound is repeated. P, 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 and p. So it's not mandatory that the sound should stretch throughout the whole line. It can be only 2 or 3 words which contain the initial consonant sound same. So that thing is called alliteration. It is another figure of speech which we can use in our communication. Now the question is, what is the role of metaphor and figurative language in communication? There are some key aspects to their roles in communication. Number 1, what can a metaphor and figurative language give to your communication? Number 1, they can enhance creativity and imagination. How? See, metaphor and figurative language, it stimulates creativity and imagination. They allow speaker and writer to express ideas in novel and unexpected ways. By that, they encourage listeners or readers to engage more actively with the content. So they enhance creativity and imagination. When a writer uses figurative language, he will have to think through the different prism, through the different glass. He will have to think upon the different usage of language. So by that, it enhances our creativity and imagination. And it enhances the imagination of readers as well. When a reader reads the content where figurative language has been used, or when a speaker listens the content where figurative language has been used, so he thinks he needs the support of his imagination to understand such things, such language, such figurative language. So the result is that we are improving or enhancing our imagination and creativity. The next point is facilitating understanding. So complex or abstract concepts can be made accessible through metaphors. We can make complex ideas accessible to us through metaphors. So by comparing unfamiliar ideas to familiar ones, metaphorical language helps individuals grasp and comprehend new information more easily. When we are comparing an unknown object with a known object, so by that we are facilitating understanding. We try to understand different concepts which are not in our own language. We try to accept them, or we try to understand them when they are compared with the help of metaphor or simile or figurative language. Creative vivid imagery. Figurative language, it paints pictures with words. You will see with the help of figurative language, we are using vivid imagery. Imagery is all vivid, but here I mean by vivid that we make a reader to think about the things, about the concept which has been discussed by figurative language. So figurative language, it paints pictures with words, creating vivid imagery that appeals to the senses. So such kind of use of language, it appeals to the senses. A reader has no chance rather than to think, rather than to visualize. So this not only makes the content or communication more engaging, but also helps listeners or readers to visualize, experience the message more profoundly. It's not making your communication more engaging only, but it also helps your readers or listeners to visualize the things which you are sharing to them. Evoking emotion. The use of metaphors and figurative language, it is a powerful tool which can evoke emotions. They have the ability to convey feelings and sentiments more effectively rather than the literal language. A literal language cannot honestly portray the emotions, cannot show the real emotions and feelings. It can be shown by the figurative language. So figurative language helps us to evoke emotions and express emotions more effectively rather than literal language. Then expressing complex ideas. Sometimes we are having complex ideas in our mind stock. We are not able to just speak those ideas because they are complex. So figurative language helps us to express complex ideas. We make complex ideas very easier to understand when we do one thing. What? When we use figurative language for those ideas, because we are making comparison there. Sometimes we are exaggerating. Sometimes we are personifying ideas. So while doing all these things to a concept, or while presenting a concept with the help of all these techniques, what we are doing, we are expressing complex ideas that in a similar way. Now, engaging the audience. Figurative language has the power to capture the attention of the audience because it makes our communication more dynamic and more interesting. So it invites individuals to listen attentively, to participate in the process of communication actively. Because when we use figurative language, our audience or listeners have to listen us carefully. Cultural and contextual enrichment. These metaphors, they are often drawn on cultural references. So they enrich communication by connecting with shared experiences, values, and beliefs. So these metaphors or the figurative language, it provides a cultural context that resonates with a diverse audience. Then persuasion and rhetoric. What's persuasion and rhetoric? Metaphors, they can be powerful tools in persuasion and rhetoric. In order to persuade something, it's better to use figurative language or metaphors. They can be used to influence opinions, shape perceptions. They can be used, these metaphors can be used to influence people, to shape the perceptions of the people, to persuade people. We can use persuasion and rhetoric. Memorability. Metaphors and the figurative language, they make messages more memorable. You can understand or you can memorize the messages, you can retain the information in the mind when it is encoded with memorability. So the use of imaginative and unique expressions, helps information stick in the mind of the audience, leading to a better retention and recall. So it sticks or it pastes the information in our mind when we use figurative language so that a reader or a receiver can recall them anytime in the future life. So now I would like to conclude that metaphor and figurative language are essential components of effective communication. Effective communication is incomplete without the use of figurative language. Why? It provides a means to convey ideas with depth. Because with the help of figurative language, we can communicate the ideas with the depth, emotional resonance, and cultural relevance. We can convey ideas with emotional resonance and cultural evidence or relevance. Their use enhances the overall quality of communication. It is their use which ensures the overall quality of communication, and it makes communication more compelling, memorable, and impactful. So this is all for today. If you want some extra information regarding the topic, you can consult these sources. They'll help you to understand the topic in detail. This is all for today. Thank you. Thank you for listening. Be careful.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.